we'll start the regular council meeting for May 13th. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Here.
Trustee Guerrero?
Trustee Guerrero.
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Here.
Trustee Tripoli?
Here.
Trustee Hashem? Here. President Eisen?
Here.
Treasurer S?
Here.
Clerk Witsit is here.
Approval of the agenda. I have two minor tweaks. So under approval of the minutes, we'll just add in minutes for the April 8th regular council meeting. That's the right date.
Yes.
Okay. And then between 11 and 12, after call from the table, but before adjournment, we'll have closed session for litigation. And those are my own little edits.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the changes.
Support.
Been moved and supported that we approve the agenda as edited. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public comments on the agenda. Dave, if you want to come up and introduce yourself real quick.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Skirdo. I am the principal of Carlisle Workman Associates, and I am your new planning consultant. I've been on board since March 1st of this year. A lot going on. I come out every Wednesday. I come out, camp out at that table, answer questions. And Brian, Genevieve always pile on things for me to do too. I do come out the third Friday of every month we have a code enforcement meeting with everybody. As you can tell by my hair, I've been in business for so long. I don't even go by years, I go by decades now. So I'm here to answer any questions. I live nearby, I live in Harrison Township, so I'm real close to here, and I grew up in Macomb County. So I'm a long time resident. I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Yeah, I don't think we had any questions, but I at least wanted to give everybody the opportunity to meet Dave. I guess admittedly I probably could put him as an agenda item, but I just figured I'd give him a chance real quick to introduce himself so he doesn't have to stay for the whole meeting if he doesn't want to.
I'm gonna stay.
But at least got your opportunity to say hi. So, welcome.
Okay, thank you.
When he's here on Wednesday, is that open to anybody with questions?
Yeah, Dave's here. It says office hours on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So any type of like pre-planning or construction meetings and stuff like that, we try to plan it to be on a Wednesday while Dave's here.
Okay.
But yeah, and Dave's always
Yeah.
open for questions.
Okay.
And,
The only difference is on the third weeks of the month, I move my Wednesday meetings to Friday meetings.
Okay.
But I'm still here for questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
thanks, Dave. Any other public comment on the agenda? Okay. Approval of the April 8th regular council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we approve the meeting minutes from the April 8th regular council meeting. Roll call, please. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills.
Approval April 2025 payroll, $113,753.25 in bills to be paid for April 2025, $576,917.12, totaling $690,670.37.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $687,117.57. That removes the SYO billing for this month, and I want to talk about it separately. We can vote on a separate motion.
What was the total amount with SYO removed?
$687,117.57.
You have to slow down a little bit for me, I'm not that fast.
687
687,
117
117.
dot 57.
Thank you.
So I'll support it, if it has not already, sorry.
It's been moved and supported that we approve the payroll and a majority of the bills to be paid in the amount of $687,117.57 for a separate discussion on SYO. Roll call, please.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Pomakowski?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
No.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Noah?
Abstain.
Trustee Hashem?
Yes.
President Meissner?
Yes. Just trying to do math here, sorry. Trustee Percoli, you can have the floor.
Is there a motion?
If you want to make a motion.
I'm voting no on it, so I'm not going to make the motion. If anybody wants to pay SYO, make the motion.
What's the, I guess, educate us.
So I was going to do this last month, but I chalked it up as we were just not getting the service that we were paying for. And then after last month's meeting, I find out we're basically, SYO is holding our licenses and everything until they get paid and are doing no services now. And I don't see a difference between that and someone coming into the office and just taking $3,500. They're not, we have a contract with them to do IT services for us, and they're not doing that at all.
Yeah, so
That's
SYO,
basically being blackmailed right now for our licenses.
yeah, they essentially are extorting us. SYO, when we gave them what their date was for the termination of their services, they came back and said that we didn't give them the 90 days written notice like what's in their contract. I said, you were physically present at the meeting where the decision was made that we're terminating your services, that is your notice. We've been working or trying to work together with SYO leading through since December. So it's been January, February, March. We got to April and gave them the notice that VC3 was ready to be onboarded and ready to go with their services. Jason replied that without the 90 days written notice, or without the written notice and without payment for the 90 days, he would not release any of our accounts, our licenses, everything. So he basically was holding the village hostage. In talking with Al, you know, there's really two options there. We either don't pay, or we pay and get our licenses and get everything switched over. Meanwhile, VC3 has already onboarded us and is already starting to invoice us. So it was kind of either the decision to make them go away or try to fight it out in court. And, I mean, I can let Mr. Addis speak to that as far as what his recommendation is.
It is not unusual for governmental entities to be held hostage when you're trying to make a change. And it's always a tough decision, and I understand the feelings. You hate to be held up like that. But it's really not, the real problem is we have a system that when we go ahead and win, nobody gives us our money back for paying to win. We have a system in America that doesn't often award costs to the winning party. They always say they're available, but they're hardly ever granted. And you're talking a figure where you have to weigh the interest of the public money against the chance that this guy's so angry, so embarrassed to be fired or losing the job that he's going to carry this out. Is there a right decision? You know, this is probably not. Is there a wrong decision? Probably not. So you weigh, you balance it. If you guys wanted to fight it, heck, I like billing people. I'd be thrilled to death, okay? I mean, I'm not that stupid, but on the other hand, I've got to answer to the public too, where no one trusts me anymore, and I'm going, for that much money, is this really what you want to do? Do you want to get into this war? You're right, you hate to be held hostage like that, but it's the nature of the business. And it's the nature of the fact that judges don't award costs if you win. Very often. Every once in a blue moon you get them, but you read the papers, you guys see all the decisions. Yeah, you won, but you paid your lawyer and good luck to everybody. If you were in England, it'd be different. We're not in England. So it's always a tough decision. There's no right answer on it. The guy, you got your new company in, the guy's gone.
Will be gone.
Well, or will be gone. I'm not sure it's the greatest business decision in the world for him to do that and get that reputation for the next guy that comes along. But, you know, I get it. He didn't want to lose the business. On the other hand, you got to weigh it. The taxpayers' money. Are you going to win and pay more to win than if you just get rid of them and move on? It's very difficult. But, you know, and I told Brian, I don't think there's a right decision, and the only right decision may be to get it over.
And I
That's my
thought,
question. Because my question is, how come the written notice was never sent?
Just wasn't it.
I mean, if the contract calls for a written notice, how simple is it to put together a written memo, send it out, and none of this happens?
Yep, I dropped the ball, our office manager dropped the ball, we all dropped the ball, nobody did it.
even
So-
if that notice was given out, he would still have 90 days of service to provide us, and he still isn't doing that. So that, to me, the letter is moot. I mean,
No, it's not moved, because this all took place last fall, or first of the year.
the problems that I'm speaking of specifically are within the last couple of months.
Right, but if the letter was given when we had a meeting and decided in January, then the 90 days would have been up, he would have serviced us for those 90 days until this other company took over.
Yeah, but his position is he's still our IT guy.
Because we didn't
That-
give
that's
him
his
the 90
position,
days.
so it's-
But if we gave it to him in January, I don't think that would be his position.
Okay, but his position right now is he is our IT guy.
Didn't have a leg
He's
to
not
stand
our
on
IT guy.
if we had did what the contract called for.
And so the 90 days was through June, I think it was. So, you know, based off of the discussion with Hale, it was the decision, you know, I made the decision to go ahead and just make the payment and, you know, get rid of them. So that he would release all the accounts. I mean, full disclosure.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's pay it, and now we got a leg to stand. If he doesn't release our goods, then we got a leg to stand on.
Now we
This
got,
is-
So
this
does
has
he
been
have the
for-
90-day written notice now?
Yes, he was given actually a written notice where I told him that he got his notice at the December council meeting when he was physically here in person. That it may not have been written, but he was in person, he knew that we were terminating the contract. And all we're asking for is for him to give us the accounts.
And I'm assuming that's where the miscommunication was, because it said written, and he waited for that written, and he was here, and everybody assumed he knew, and then that's what it was.
Since the December meeting, he's made it extremely difficult to work with. Numerous
He never
emails.
got me, but I still can't do it.
I know, and that's where Trustee Bergoli's going with it, is that I told him he's in breach of contract, in my opinion, because I had many weeks where I was unable to get to VPN in. He was refusing to respond to my emails, and I actually went to VC3, and they were the ones who actually got me in. So, you know, I don't want it to be a tit for tat, and I mean, full disclosure, you know, the invoices were, I think, a couple weeks ago now at this point. The check has already been written, signed, and sent. So
That's a
this vote is a little bit moot, but, I mean, it's already, he already has been paid. He has responded that he received it, that he was going to be turning everything over to us Friday.
Okay, so why are we having this conversation?
Therefore,
It's-
it's just a matter of ethics now.
So, I mean, this is under the $4,000 limit, which is my limit. I was executing I was executing what we had discussed at the December meeting about terminating his contract. Yes, I will fully admit, I dropped the ball in not putting a memo together to give him the 90-day notice right after the meeting. I'll take full responsibility for that. But it's still within my spending limit to just pay him to go away.
For what it's worth, if he'd have kept up with the lawsuit, my position would have been that every act of this board and every board is reduced to minutes. Minutes are in writing, and minutes are public. My argument would have been that he got written notice. It didn't say by certified mail, sent to his address, or registered mail. And that would have been the position, and I think it would have been very arguable. He sat right here and he knew. On the other hand, what's it cost to do that? You go into circuit court, the judge hauls you in, you've been through it, we've been through it. Say, can't we resolve this? Can't we settle this? Now you're paying me, now you're, and the judge, and whatever, and you're gonna end up, I don't like the approach of holding property hostage, whether it's intellectual property or real property. You know, I don't think it bodes well, but that would have been the position. But for that much money, do we need that war?
And I thought about that too before I did that. And I know it's a numbers game, but at some point there's also principle involved in it too, and that's where I'm coming from. I would rather pay you to defend the residents against a crooked contractor.
That's why I think
than to
so
pay the
highly.
contractor.
That's why I think so highly, because you would rather pay me.
Well, there's always Google review and word of mouth.
I think principle is a good leg to stand on, but the principle has to work both ways.
Yeah.
While we may think that it's, the principle of it, but the fact of the matter is that all we had to do was put together a one-line memo. Yeah, this conversation is you. I mean, it doesn't, because when it comes to minutes, our minutes are not taken word for word. I mean, our minutes are open to interpretation, and a verbal comment, we all know that verbal comments are definitely open for interpretation. So a simple memo.
Yeah. I full agreement. If we had a full-time village manager, it probably would have been no.
No. Crap.
No, that's
So then,
No, crap. For a memo, you could have handwritten it on the back of this paper and mailed it.
yeah. If it would have been on the list, yes, I could have.
That letter still
I
doesn't
take
excuse his
responsibility.
behavior or his business behavior for the last couple of months. That
Absolutely.
does
Or
not
the
excuse
services that were not rendered.
I agree with that.
And that's where I'm coming from. The memo to me doesn't mean anything. What he hasn't done in the last 2 or 3 months.
But the memo would have gave us a leg to stand on.
Yeah. I mean, we gave him, I want to say, at least 30, if not 45 days notice. So was it a full 90 days? No. Was it, notice? Yes. I sent it to him via email, and that's when he replied and said, this isn't good enough, I want it by certified mail. And then we put a memo together. It took a handful of days for it to go out in the mail. I'm not sure why, but it didn't go in the mail right away here. And when it finally got to him, then he acknowledged it. And even then, we've sent, I can't tell you how many emails asking for the credentials, letting him know the check is on the way. We've signed it. It's on its way. It's on its way. It's on its way. He finally just replied to our numerous emails, I think it was yesterday or today, I don't remember which, saying, I'll transfer everything over this Friday.
Why wait?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, why is he waiting?
I mean, we have been, no, we didn't have the 90-day written memo, but we have been communicating with him a lot over the past 4 months. More emails than I can count. Both myself and VC3 have been reaching out to him and trying to open a line of communication and say, this is what we're planning on, this is the dates that we're marching towards, yada, yada, yada. And it was like he just kept that in the back pocket until we gave him a date and then said, oh, you didn't give us a written notice. And it's like, oh shit, you know? So yeah, like I said, I take full responsibility. I dropped the ball, I didn't send him that memo. That does fall on me ultimately. But it just was lost in the mix. No other excuse.
So the check has been sent.
Check has been sent. As far as I know, he's already received it. I'm assuming since he's acknowledging that he's going to give us the credentials on Friday that he has received it.
So what is our plan if Friday comes and goes without them?
I'll be calling now.
Now we can respond.
Yeah.
Now we win.
Also, do we have the original copy of this the service agreement?
The contract. I think I did at one point. I'm sure
That we've reviewed it to confirm that it's an actual 30-day written notice?
90 days. Yeah.
Or 90-day written notice?
Yeah, I think we did.
So then don't we have to change the total of bills because there's my mistake?
Yeah, so that's what we did. The 687 was the subtraction of the SYO. So now it would be a separate motion.
And how much is this?
Yeah.
So the separate,
355280.
35, 52, 80. So I make a motion to pay the amount of $3,552.80 SYO.
Support.
it's been moved and supported that we already have paid SYO in the amount of $3,552.80. Roll call, please.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Noah?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
No.
Trustee Hashem?
Yes.
And President Wyson?
Yes. Treasurer's report.
Total village cash assets of $7,701,759.65.
I'll make the motion that we receive the treasurer's report.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we receive and file the treasurer's report. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Hashem?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Noah?
Yes.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Did I skip somebody? Did Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
You missed me too.
President Wyson?
Yes.
I'm all over the place.
All right. Communications and committee reports. Clerk, what's that?
Agenda items for the June meeting are due at the end of May, please.
All right. Planning commission was canceled this month, so there's no planning commission update. Is there anything that you wanted to speak on that?
No, we just received, after the fact, a couple of emails with some site plan updates, so we'll be addressing those next month.
Parks and Rec update, Trustee Guerrero?
Yep, let's talk about the Red Hot and Blue Festival, just get everything good for that. And then we have River Days coming up on June 7th, starting here at the Village Hall. We have some and Tigers trips we're trying to get underway, trying to get those happening for the fall. That's all good.
If anybody didn't see, Red Hot and Blue Festival has been officially moved to Main Street. Actually, Fountain Park, Main Street, and Haven Ridge will all be involved. The fireworks are planned to be fired off from the Foundry location. Should be quite fun. I think last I heard we had 14 food trucks lined up, so there may or may not be another event that's advertising that they're one of the largest food truck rallies in northern Macomb County, but we may or may not have more food trucks than that. Not that it's a competition.
Not at all.
So we got a lot of fun things that are planned for the festival. We're really looking forward to it this year. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to learn, but we'll be good for moving forward. All right. There was no unfinished business, so new business, Parks and Rec vacancy. We have in our packet a letter of interest from a Mrs. Moses, interested in the open position for the Parks and Recreation Committee. Kitchen manager at New Haven High School, so has ties to the, ties to the village and works at the village, or in the school district at least.
I'll move to appoint Beth Moses to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we appoint Beth Moses to the Parks and Rec Committee. Clerk would said if you would be able to communicate to Mrs. Moses, let her know that she's been appointed.
As soon as you vote on it.
Oh, yes. A vote is probably a good idea. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bertoli?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Bunkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Trustee Dona?
Yes.
Trustee Hashem? And President Wyson?
Yes. Item number B, setting a public hearing for the June council, or before the June council meeting. We have two public hearings that we'd like to set. First is for the general operating millage, and then a separate motion for the fire millage. In the executive summary are the millage rates. There are no changes being proposed.
I'll make a motion that we set the public hearing for the millage rates at 6:30, June 10th. And we'll just do one right after the other.
So this is for the general operating, and then we'll do the fire
Yeah.
millage after this. Okay.
Say like fire millage is 645 or something.
And
It was 6:45.
6:45 for the fire.
Well, let's do the general operating. We have motion, do we have support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we set the public hearing for the general operating millage for 6:30 p.m. on June 10th. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And on the subsequent motion,
To schedule the fire millage public hearing right after the general operating millage public hearing prior to the regular council meeting at 7.
we'll say fire millage at 6:45.
Sure.
Second.
It's been moved and supported that we set the fire millage public hearing for 6:45 prior to the June 10th council meeting.
And there's no changes.
Right, and again, no changes yet. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next one is GoGov quote. Ms. Gazel, do you want to speak to this one, or this is just the renewal of, yeah. So this is the, just the renewal of the My Notify MI app. We have the app, and then we have the SMS notification system that's tied in with it. So it's just the 12-month renewal.
Is this the thing where we can blast out to the community something that happens?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been getting really good feedback. I actually get a lot of residents that reach out to me and they're like, hey, we got a, this event or, whatnot. We're trying to filter it through and make sure we're not like overloading the system. We don't want to bombard everybody with tons of alerts, but, car accidents, stuff like that, people are like, hey, you should send out a notification for that. I'm like, hey, not a bad idea. Okay. So.
And this is through the New Haven app?
Yeah, it's the My New Haven MI app through GoGov. One of the cool, just to kind of give an example too, is one of the nice things about this app is that you can add things to the app, to that navigation when you open it up. And it just has to be a link to a website. So one of the things that we're planning on doing is we've been working on maps for the Red Hot and Blue Festival. And we're gonna, once it gets a little bit closer to the Red Hot and Blue, we're gonna put a link right up at the top of the app, Red Hot and Blue Maps. And it'll be a page on our website with all of the maps listed. So if anybody, if you have the app, and it's another reason to advertise, download the app. But you can open the app, you can go to Red Hot and Blue Map, and you can see a map of the event and where everything's located, where the road closures are, where the bathrooms are located, all that fun stuff. So just a fun way of being able to utilize the app. We've been able to utilize it with building department that they have the ability that they can create an invoice for contractors for the building permits. And then they can go into the building department link that's on the app, and then that takes them to that BSNA payments that they can then make their payments. So it's just making it a lot easier for residents to interact with us.
I'll make a motion to, for the renewal for GoGov for $4,368.
It's been moved and supported that we renew our agreement with GoGov in the amount of $4,368. Any further discussion on the motion? Yes,
If I
sir.
may ask, is the renewal rate the same?
There is an incremental increase. I don't remember what it was, but I
Some
remember
people remember it called the original.
7%.
7%. Okay, 7%. And then we also had, I believe it's part of this one too, is the SMS. So we've added the ability to do SMS. I think that was like $400. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Hashem? Yes. Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Nono?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
President Weiss?
Yes. Street committee meeting, apologize that we don't have an executive summary to go with this one. We had our streets rehab meeting a couple of weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Attached we have in the packet, so there was, based off the street committee's recommendation, for 2026, it would be Montclair and East Brampton, which in Amherst subdivision, those would be the next streets north of what we're planning on doing this year. So basically just progressing up each of the rungs of the ladder that is Amherst, I guess I would say. And then there was the additional for the Category B funding for 2026. We kind of thought a little bit outside of the park on this one. We're outside of the box, but this one has to do with the park. And it was adding parallel parking at Fountain Park and expanding the width of Haven Ridge from Main Street to Ann Street. Adding the parallel parking, it would also allow for us to do the sidewalks. And the rationale for this is that we've been told from MDOT that they like when a project has multiple facets involved to it, that it's not just milling and repave, that there's some sort of improvement being made. So in this case, you know, we have the widening of the street, we're going to be able to add the parallel parking, and then there's also an additional infrastructure aspect to it of the 5-foot sidewalks.
And curbing.
And curbing, yes, and adding curbing to Haven Ridge for that section. Anything sorry, Sir Matt, is there anything else that you?
I think you covered everything, Mr. President.
Sorry,
And-
stole your thunder.
I think that project also would benefit the village, because if we start to have more events downtown, in the downtown area, to have that parking and have the infrastructure in place where the road is already done, and it would improve the area for when we do that business down there.
Yeah, that was the idea, is that it would improve, you know, we're already talking about having this year's Red Hot and Blue Festival at Fountain Park, Main Street, Haven Ridge. We also, last month, Parks and Rec said that they wanted to change music in the park to Fountain Park. So that's an additional, bringing something that's, you know, something else downtown.
And not only that, people park there anyways, and
Right.
without curbing, it's slowly deteriorating the road along the edges, and you keep getting those cracks in it. So having this project here will prevent that from happening in the future.
So tonight, we're looking for approval to move forward with these quotes for 2026.
So two motions, if I may. The Montclair and East Brampton, just a normal capital improvement project for next year. So that would be one motion. The second motion would be the Haven Ridge street rehab and parking subject to receival of grants or category B or whatever available grants. So two separate motions for the village to go through this, authorizing us to put the plans together and start applying for these grants.
And I think for the category B, we would need a subsequent resolution, probably brought back next month. I think we normally have to have a resolution for that.
Correct.
So we have the funds for Montclair and Brampton?
I think so. Did we, the funding for Montclair and Brampton? We have that in the local roads, or a combination of local roads, highway,
We
and,
don't have anything in local roads.
oh yeah, we're draining it this year. We'll have to look at the funding for it.
Once we get through the two projects that have already been approved, Captain Ford and
Yeah, East Green State.
our major and local is gonna be, I mean, I know local's gonna be depleted. So major's not gonna be far behind it. And I guess
Yeah.
my question, should we approve these projects without knowing that we got the funding in place?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Do you want to get the money first?
We have time for both of these, right? I mean, we can bring back the Haven Ridge improvements for the resolution next month, because we need the resolution anyway.
Actually, for category B, I believe the deadline is in June, right, for next year. So that one needs to go to negative, if possible.
That's just.
Yeah, that project is contingent upon.
But that is contingent on grant, so I'm fine with that, because that doesn't take our money in.
Right.
Well, it'll still, it's a measure.
Yeah.
It is, if we don't get the grant, then we're not doing it, so.
Then maybe a motion to table Montclair and East Brampton until we look at the funding availability for next year. And full agreement, I mean, we have talked about even maybe we do a year or two that we don't do the improvements based off of funding, what we have available. Rebuild the coffer. Do we have a motion to table Montclair and East Brampton?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we table Montclair and East Brampton until next month. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then the separate motion is for authorization to move forward with category B funding application.
I'll move that we move forward with the Haven Ridge rehab project contingent upon receiving grant funding.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we move forward with the Haven Ridge grant funding application for category B funding. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee DeBarrow?
Yes.
Trustee Dilfer?
Yes.
Trustee Domkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Donna?
Yes.
Trustee Hatchell?
Yes.
President Maxwell?
Yes. Item number F, we have identified that our fee schedules definitely need to be updated. This is the first of a few fee schedule updates. So item number F, we have the updated fee schedule for planning type changes, application review fee schedule, so special land use, lot split, site plan. These are all to better align with what our new planning consultant is charging, so that, you know, we're at least recuperating our costs. We did identify that, you know, until we get these updated, we're actually operating in a negative where we have meetings and we're not covering our cost.
Are we just covering our costs, or is there a cushion built in for administrative?
I believe that all of these also includes the administrative,
Yeah, there's an administrative
or yeah,
cost.
the first column there.
Oh,
Yeah.
But there's enough buffer as the administrative costs increase that we're not gonna do this every year kind of thing, or?
Yeah, no, what I'd like to do, and I don't remember if we had that in this one or, this one, Clerk, what's that? Was this one the fee schedule? Did we have that by ordinance, or this was the one that?
No, the ordinance is the right of way ordinance update.
Okay, so this one was the one that we
This
could,
one
we can
is
update
yeah,
just the fee
just the
schedule.
fee schedule.
Yeah, so this one, we can update the fee schedule as dollar amounts change. This one's more of a straightforward change, it's not updating the ordinance. And then what we would do is we would publish this on our village website.
I mean, the figures here, I think, to what Trustee Gilbert was saying, is there enough cushion here that as our costs go up, we're not gonna be updating our fee schedule annually? Or will we, is that the plan to do it annually?
Well, I think there are year-over-year increases that come with the planning contract, so I would imagine that this would be an annual thing.
Okay.
At least review.
To go up, yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, to your point, this needs to be reviewed on a more regular basis.
And there may be changes only to a few categories, not all.
Correct.
So you're just looking for a motion for this updated schedule? So I'll make a motion to adopt this new updated review fee schedule as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. One thing that I did forget to mention, I was scrolling through it, and I just wanted to at least point out, one of the changes that we had in here is that all reviews to be completed by the planner require an escrow deposit of $2,500. So I think that's a change from where we currently are. Right now, we bill after the fact. This is going to be, you do a $2,500 deposit into escrow, and then we subtract the fees from that. If at the end you have anything left over, then refund.
Which is the common practice.
That is, yeah, and that was the recommendation of our planner.
Okay.
And then we do have in the I'm just reading all the stipulation notes at the bottom. It also talks about the hourly rate. By Village of New Haven, contract with planning consultant is used for all other fees, minimum fees listed on the fee schedule, et cetera. So there is some verbiage in there about that as well. So it has been moved and supported. Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Cashel?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Nono?
Yes.
And President Benson.
Yes. Next up, we have fire department fee schedule. So again, like I said, we're going through and making sure that our fee schedules are updated to align with current costs and what's going on. So our fire inspector, Mr. Guerrero, has been going through and updating the fees associated with planning reviews, the fire alarm system inspections, sprinkler systems. You can see a list of different fees that they have. This is all aligned with what other communities are charging for their fees. And I'm sorry, I keep stealing the thunder of all of our folks that we have sitting in the back. Chief Stewart, is there anything that you wanted to say on this one?
Yeah, just to add that the fire department currently does not have a fee schedule, so this will be something that's we should have done probably years ago. So this will bring us in alignment with the building department and everything going forward. So yeah, so currently we haven't been receiving any fees from any pre-con or pre-application meeting.
And these fees are paid back.
Yes, sir.
This should have been for the last one too, but all these fees are gonna be posted on our website somewhere so that applicants can see them.
Yeah. I did cover that on the last one.
Did it? They might go through.
Any other discussion on the topic?
I'll make a motion to put in place the fee schedule presented by the fire inspector.
Second.
It's been moved and supported that we adopt the fire inspection or fire fee schedule. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Mahmoy?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Yes.
Trustee Hatcham?
Yes.
President Meissner?
Yes. Right-of-way ordinance update. So this one was another one of the instances where we noted that our ordinances were out of date. So it was to update the fee schedule to align. So we have a review fee here, and
It's highlighted in red, the change.
yeah, Sir Matt, I think, did you want to speak to this one?
Sure. So the right-of-way review and permit application was in place for a long, long years, but the actual fee calculation got updated and the ordinance did not follow. So these two minor changes that will bring it to match the current fee schedule.
What ordinance would this be?
Well, it has to be posted for approval
Right.
and then
So
brought back
tonight,
next month.
tonight is only asking for permission to post for 30 days.
It's an amendment to 350. Yeah.
I'll move to post the right-of-way ordinance for public review.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we post this for public review until the next council meeting. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, call from the floor. All right. For call from the table, yeah, we already covered the Red Hot and Blue Festival, just wanted to reiterate that again. Looking forward to that. We did have a small organizational change of having the building department roll up under Fire Chief Steer for the time being. Just an organizational change to the org chart.
Say that again, please.
So we're having, Fire Chief Steer is going to be handling the building department for the time being. There's a lot of synergy that's been going on between the fire department and the fire inspector and the building department, plus the synergies with code enforcement. I think that, it kind of streamlines the communication between what's the individuals in the building department and our fire department. So it's just from a supervisory standpoint, Fire Chief Steer is handling supervisory duties.
Over to building department.
So slight change.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one.
Yeah, it's an out of the box thinking, but should
Out of the box is a good way to put it.
yeah. So this is going to allow for better synergy between the two. They're, like I said, on a pretty standard basis right now. We have our fire inspector and code enforcement and fire chief and Becky from the building department. They're all working on a regular basis. We have Dave coming in from for planning for the code enforcement meetings. We have Mike working with the fire department on all of these, ordinance issues and building issues that we have throughout the village. So give it a try. See if the synergies work.
So where does the office manager fall into this synergy?
Yeah, so it'll be removing the responsibility of the building department from the office manager. So she'll still have the water billing and accounts payable, parks and rec liaison. All of
I'm trying to see how all these spokes fit together.
Yeah,
And I can see the fire inspector, and in some cases, the code enforcement. But I'm still trying to figure out how does the building department fit into this? Just not.
we'll give it a try and see how it works. If it doesn't work, then we can always switch it back, but it's, we'll see how it works. Any other call from the table?
Yes, I have a few.
Yes, sir.
The first one is gonna be the playscape. I thought our playscape was gonna be, what I wanna say, handicap accessible.
Yes.
ADA.
But our zip line, which is probably gonna be the most popular function of the new playscape, is not.
No, I think that's what the whole point of that ramp is.
I mean, this thing is 8 inches off the ground, filled with, wood chips.
Wood chips.
Where's the ramp at?
On the one side of the zip line, there's a ramp that I believe the purpose of it is that for somebody that's in a wheelchair, they can pull themselves up on the ramp and then they can use the zip line.
They couldn't make that flat with the ground?
I can ask.
I mean, I thought that's what was approved. I mean, I guess, unless I saw something different.
The ADA, the main ADA accessibility was with the slide for the main play structure. The play structure has some sort of functionality that allows somebody that's wheelchair bound that they can actually get themselves up the playscape and then ride the slide down.
So that's all flush with the ground?
I don't think that it's still flush with the ground either. I think that it has some sort of raise because it has to allow them to scoot themselves with the wheelchair to then pull themselves up. It was advertised as ADA. I'm not the qualified person to be saying how the ADA works, but
Are they done installing it already?
no, we're not done installing it.
No,
The zip
it's
line. The zip line is finished, the swings are finished. I think there's also there is a accessible swing that still needs to be installed. There was one that was still missing.
Oh, like this white ramp, do you think that's the ramp?
I think so. I thought that was the purpose of that.
But I thought the whole purpose of this whole redo was to make it all ADA compliant so that you could wheel up on the AstroTurf or whatever that map was in the AstroTurf and access all the.
So the main structure is going to have it should be a smooth surface right onto the AstroTurf, and then they'll have access to all the fixtures, and then I believe there's ADA components with the other fixtures.
So
It's
we're
just
still gonna have to refresh the mulch every year?
Unless we were to decide what to go with a different, for the main part of the mulch, but what they were saying is the swing set and the zip line, the amount of, brushing your shoes against it, that you need the mulch for those sections.
It's gonna get kicked out of there.
Right. I think they tried to make the approach as smooth as possible, but I think there is still a limit, if I remember correctly.
So those two functions, the swing set and the zip line, could not be made with the mat and the AstroTurf?
So what they were saying is if we did the AstroTurf around it, we would have to do something under each of the swings, which they would either recommend they have special mats you can get, which are expensive, or you can do the mulch. The mulch, they said, was less expensive.
I'm sorry, I thought we worked on that AstroTurf. Remember we?
There is AstroTurf on the main structure.
On the main structure, only, but not on the zip line and
But I thought it was for the zip line as well. I thought it was for the all of the.
I thought the whole thing was supposed to be AstroTurf
That's
and
what-
matted and,
That's what I thought too.
I'd have to go back and look, but I'm not in the, I don't believe so.
I understood it on the main thing that was ADA compliant.
Yeah, because the whole idea was that it would be a flush surface from the walkway that goes around the main area, the main island of the playscape and structures. That all is going to be flush and with the AstroTurf. But I believe we always had it as mulch for the, I'd have to go back and look, I don't remember.
I'm with Mr. Gilbert, I thought it was all of it.
all of it.
Yeah. that's
You know,
what
because
I
when I
thought.
go to
Lennox,
Lennox,
Lennox is
yeah.
all.
the whole thing, I mean, the zip line,
Everything.
Yeah, I think so their zip line is different.
I was gonna ask, so the zip line, we're looking at the picture, how do you even get from one side to the other? Because we cannot-
There's the ramp.
Where's, this must be like unfinished. Look at your board you posted, it was kind of wasn't unfinished.
Yeah, maybe. I
So
mean, the
like,
zip
how
line
are they
pictures.
getting from one side of the zip line to the other?
Buying a zip line.
Yeah, they pull the zip line over to the ramp, and then they can ride.
Is it like a seat? We can't see it. No.
Oh, there is. There's a string with a rubber seat on it. I rode it. I handled my weight.
Oh, We're trying to buy a picture.
Tomorrow.
But so there
No.
isn't, it's not like Lennox where they have both, where there is for the 88.
Right, no,
They've got the seat too for the special needs.
Yeah,
The design proposal always overshowed the one. I mean, we had the design.
But I
proposal.
don't know because I wasn't here then, so I understand.
Clerk, what's that? Can you grab the design that's out in the hallway by chance, actually? So I think we actually did have the design blown up. I know the zip line always just showed the one. Yeah, and see that, and the swing set, that all shows mulch.
That's it.
Well, it shows something brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parents would appreciate mulch before sand.
But yeah, and then it always only showed the one zip line. So colors are different. We ended up going with darker coloring for the poles just to try to avoid anybody vandalizing it. Yeah, I mean, I think from what I remember when we, and admittedly it's been a long time since we had a discussion. So the mainscape on there, if you're able, I don't know if it's actually visible in the, yeah, more. So on the main portion of the playscape, there is this slide here. This is a ADA accessible slide that they have for the main playscape. And then there were ADA components that are spread out. Maybe not all of these are ADA, but they had various different components, different ages, different. This is for like sensory kids with like sensory. I don't know what. I try not to use the wrong words, but it's all like musical instruments and stuff. So, but yeah, this was the main part of the ADA. So this does look like it's fairly flush. It's not totally, but it's supposed to allow them to pull themselves up, and then they can slide the slide down, and it's got just this big like landing area at the bottom that they can come down on, and they can even go back up, or they can get off and get back on their wheelchair. Then here's the other. So this swing is already up, but this one is the one that still needs to be installed. So, but this will be flush here. What they were talking about doing is they were going to have to, because of the asphalt not being a clean, crisp, like cutoff, they're going to do a border with a brick, and then they can fill in the gap from the brick to the asphalt with like crushed limestone. And then from the brick, that'll then transition into the AstroTurf. So there will be like a decorative border that goes around. And then they did, from what I remember, they tried to make this as flush as possible, but yeah, it's not perfectly flush. Because they needed it to have that gap to be able to hold mulch in. So. Anything else?
Yes, I still got another, two more.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention a couple months ago, and I kept forgetting to bring it up, and I wasn't here for one meeting, that historically, during the holiday, the employees are allowed to take their vacation days or personal days to fill in the gap between Christmas Eve and Christmas, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. 2 or 3 days, wherever they may, to fill in that gap. And it was brought to my attention, and I verified it with a few employees, that they were told that they didn't have to use their own vacation time, that you were just gonna pay it.
Yeah, I gave them, I told them that since it was basically considered a mandatory shutdown, that they wouldn't have to worry about it. We had some issues where some of the employees didn't have the holiday time, they didn't have the vacation or the personal time to be able to cover those days. And so they would either have to take a pay, you know, they would be taking a pay cut, they wouldn't be paid for that time, or, you know, or they'd have to work and the village would be completely shut down, so.
Well, just using my rough calculation, that cost us over $8,000. And you don't have the authority to authorize $8,000 payout.
Okay. I didn't know what the pay calculation would be.
I mean, they've been able to use their time for years, but all of a sudden they didn't have time available to use.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the employees, maybe short of the latest hirees, may not have had enough time. But I mean, you know, that's how we set it up, because we didn't give the full holiday period, you know, all was paid, and they just filled in the gaps, whereas they were paid for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And I think this year, the way it fell, they would have had to fill in, I don't know, maybe 3 days or something, 3 or 4 days. But they were paid, they were told that the village was going to just pay them the full holiday, and I think that should have been brought to council.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I mean, anybody could have brought that to my attention. Apparently somebody, you know, brought it to yours, but nobody brought it to my attention that it was an $8,000 amount. If I would have known that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the exact amount was, but just using the base pay for the employees.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's totally fair. I will let them know that that will not be the case this year.
Well,
moving forward.
I'm not trying to say that it shouldn't be the case, but I'm saying that it should have come to council.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we...
It should have been a council decision.
Sure. Yeah, I was being generous and allowing them. I work my day job. They give us a mandatory shutdown for that period, and I thought it was fair to give them that same type of leniency, but to your point, I didn't realize that the payroll would be about $8,000, so yeah, that's not within my authority. So if we want to do it again this year, I'll bring it to council. I'll bring that forward.
And the other thing is just FYI, reading the newspaper, Marine City received a $985,000 grant through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And the majority of that grant is to convert a old Lions Club into a community center. And that's just, I'm saying it to reiterate that there's money out there, but we gotta go looking for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the plan. Right?
And they're gonna do probably exactly what we want to do over there.
All right. Any other?
I'm done.
I got one.
Trustee Bankowski's.
I guess I'm going to piggyback on something Chris just talked about, the Christmas. I always didn't understand why we were shut down. I understand that GM shuts down, and that's very fortunate for you, but I'd like to survey the table, how many get the shutdown? So it's not a commonplace in every...
I did, but I don't get a shutdown now.
You're on a permanent shutdown.
Did you have a couple
But, so I think that's really the first thing that should be approved, is if we're going to shut down or not. I'm not sure why they shut down or why it's necessary.
Yeah, that part was before my time.
Okay, but I think really that should be the first thing that council should decide on, regardless if there's going to be pay involved or not. So that's just my 2 cents on that. I'm gonna touch on the Lions Hall as well. Like, where are we on that and what's going on? And that's great, Mr. Dribbler grants, but are you available to apply for those?
I've been authorized.
Okay, but you could do all the legwork and just have the authorized individual sign it.
I'm not authorized to, these emails I don't receive anymore.
So, okay,
Yeah, no, on the topic of the Lions Club, I would love for anybody who's willing to help out with the legwork on getting the individuals out so that we can get the quotes and that we can, RFP or try to go for the grant funding. Admittedly, I've had so much stuff going on that I haven't been able to do anything with that.
so who could you delegate that to?
Anybody that's willing to.
Okay.
So if we have anybody that's interested
Do we
in
have a
taking on.
paid- Do we have a paid staff member that you could delegate that to?
I can go back and and talk with our staff, either if we have Marcus do it, or if we have Lynette or our office manager,
Okay.
or whatever.
Okay. Otherwise, at this point in the game, I think we need to make a decision either that we just sell the Lions Hall at this point because
Yeah,
it's just deteriorating as it sits in the situation that it is.
yeah, I know, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have had Marcus do all the work, and it would have already been done a long time ago.
Right, but that doesn't qualify for the grants.
No, it
That
doesn't.
everybody is
Right.
system on, so,
Right.
which I don't disagree with. And then if we could, moving forward, could we have summaries on all our agenda items?
Yep.
And journal entries. During our audit, they recommended that we get a list of the journal entries every month, and we haven't gotten one yet. Can we do that? Because it's a fiscal responsibility that we're all responsible for. And then just one thing I want to say, and that's really more of a personal thing that bugs me more than anything, but we all of a sudden we all have a gotcha mentality. Like we're coming to this table and it's throwing everybody out under the carpet and it's gotcha. It's very unprofessional and it's all, well, I heard from this person and I heard from that person. Who are you hearing all this stuff from? And why is it appear that it's so secretive? Like we're supposed to be transparent and that's not very transparent when we come saying, well, I was told or I heard. So
Well, I mean,
it's a personal reflection.
I think if things were transparent, then I wouldn't have to hear them.
Right, but I guess, and I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, when we come to the table saying, oh, well, I heard, that sounds secretive, like children were, somebody's tattling somewhere behind the scenes is what that tells me. And we're supposed to be professional,
Yeah.
and that's not professional behavior. That's just my personal opinion that I'm sharing with everyone, whether you take it how you choose.
Yeah, and the Christmas shutdown, I thought that was within my authority to do, so I didn't, the thought didn't cross my mind to bring it to council or, to communicate it out. It was just, as far as I knew, we've always had this period where we shut down the village for that time, and just thought it was being, generous that giving them the time off. It's always one of my pet peeves. We have the 4th of July shutdown. That's a mandatory shutdown at GM. And I have to burn my own vacation time for it. And it's like, well, you're telling me I have to take this time off, but yet I have to burn my vacation time for it. To me, that's not right. But that was why I was making the decision. But yeah, I mean, definitely hearing the dollar amount, I'm more than willing to admit that is, not that's much higher than what I thought it was going to be. I'm willing to bring it to council and we can have further discussion on it moving forward. But I do agree, I mean, it is a little disappointing about, we heard things months ago. I mean, you got my number, you can call me. We should be working together.
Personally, I'd rather bring it here because of your addiction to social media. Okay, and that's why I bring things here. Okay, because I don't trust the private conversations.
All right, anything else from call from the table?
I got one.
Oh, yes.
So I really think that we do have to revisit how we do our finances and how we pay our bills, because it's happened twice since I've been on council where we we have issues with bills that we already paid before they're approved, and now I guess tonight there's a third instance that came up. I don't see a difference in what Brian did on Christmas versus what the check signers did to SYO. Both people approved amounts that weren't approved by council. And we do that a lot, and eventually it's gonna happen again in the future, and it's gonna end up being a problem in the future at some point. So I think we need to get ahead of it, get a system in place where we're not paying bills that were not approved by council.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The SYO amount is within the authorized $4,000 spending limit.
How much did you spend this month? If you spent $1,000 on anything else, you went over your limit.
That's not how the ordinance is written.
You can't spend, then you can spend $200,000.
Yes.
$3,000.
And that's why I oppose that ordinance.
That's what, I mean, it's not that I would do that, but.
No, but I mean, that's not, I mean, because even then, there should have been a report on what did you spend this month.
That's what the payment of the bills
But
is.
either way, we're gonna run into issues, depending on however that ordinance is written. We're gonna run into issues in the future. There's no difference in a president overspending, because what you're doing at that point is you're asking for forgiveness instead of permission. Right, and we made that common practice, and there's, in my eyes, there's no difference in what a president does or what check signers do before it comes to council.
Yeah, I mean, normally the practice is anything over 4,000, we bring a quote, forward. We did have these discrepancies that were mentioned today, which I take responsibility for. Well, I got to do a better job of making sure that anything that's 4,000 or above comes through council.
What was the previous amount?
2,500.
Okay, so, but in reality, he could have spent $250,000 and not $2,500 at a time before.
True.
When that ordinance came up, that's not how I read it, because I would have known that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it didn't say per month.
In my opinion, is,
I had to read it again.
because I sat in that chair, the only time I ever exceeded that 2,500 is if there was a public emergency.
No, you did it for the cleaning the drain over there. That's what me and Ann jumped on you for that.
Doing what?
The shook drain, you had that contractor come in and.
Well, I mean, that was
You
part of.
got the deal on it. That was the first time.
That was a public emergency.
That was not.
But, I mean, contract was in
You
here.
got a deal on it. It was good. I don't blame you, but you still went over.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But everyone
But other than that, they came to council prior.
Okay. But
So-
everyone approves all the credit cards bills every month without seeing what the purchases were.
So, I mean,
So, I mean, that puts us all in the hole.
and that's, again, the SYO was under the 4,000 limit. So that one, well, I mean, whether that should have came to council or not, I'm not really sure at this point because that's under the spending limit.
But what you're
So
doing
that-
is you're doing it after the fact. I brought it up and was like, well, I can put it under my thing.
Well, but again, so if I have Marcus get a quote for cutting trees down and it's under the 4,000, I'm authorized to have him do that because it's under the 4,000.
I'm just saying, it's gonna be a problem. Oh, and to your point, I let him know 2 or 3 days ago that I was gonna do this at the table.
Last night.
What's that?
Last night.
Was it last night? I'm not midnight, so I'm already today.
You're still on the day before.
So, I mean, as far as exceeding the 4,000 limit, I think the only one that we had was this Christmas shutdown. Right?
Can I ask a question since I'm newer and I don't know what this $4,000 limit is?
So, like,
I'm just trying to get like filled in so I know what is happening.
so a good example he gave is the trees. If Marcus wants to cut trees down,
So is
and
it like $4,000 per event?
it's per, so he could spend $1 million a month, $24,000 at a time. Yes, that is true.
I gotta read that ordinance again, because I would have known that
There's no
so
like
fast.
cap limit?
No.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we
it's-
don't.
But it's no different than the bills that are paid every month. There's no limit to what could be paid.
What do you mean, there's no limit?
Whatever the bills come are paid at face value.
We approve them, and then the check should go out. That's how it's supposed to go.
Well, I don't
We
think
have a practice of just not doing that, so
Yeah, I
that's
don't
normal
think it
to
goes
us,
that
but
way.
it's not normal.
Yeah, it does not go that way.
When you're irresponsible, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, the checks and balances for it is that you have the signers that are also reviewing what I'm approving. check that's written, the signers have to sign.
Yeah, but I'm saying, let's say that's why it was $5,000, it's over now.
If it was
They would
over,
cut the check before it got to council.
if it was, no, because if it was over the $4,000, I wouldn't have just said, let's do it. It would have came to council.
Because we had a practice of doing that, because we didn't want to pay late fees, I think is what it was, the way it was set up.
But there are some things that you don't want, like say utility bills
Right, yeah.
are just,
But there's practices that could be put in place
Yeah.
that everyone has to approve.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, and SYO, because that isn't a time, I mean, to some extent, it was time sensitive of, you know, we're trying to get him out the door, and so we're trying to get him, but that, if it would have been over the 4,000, then yeah, we could have brought that to council, because that could have waited until this meeting. So, yeah, I mean, that would have, I mean, the GoGov was added to the agenda, because that was over $4,000. And that was, you know, barely over 4,000, it was like 42 or 43 or whatever. So, you know, we have Marcus pulling quotes like crazy for a whole bunch of projects all over the village. Those, you know, those are all going to be coming through council. I mean, like I said, I take responsibility of the Christmas shutdown. I thought I had that authority, and I also didn't equate to how much of a payroll value that was. Hearing the 8,000, I do regret that I authorized that. That should have been brought to council, I agree.
That's all I have.
Any other call from the table? We'll need a motion to go into closed session for litigation update.
I make a motion to go into closed session for litigation update at 8:17.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we go into closed session for our litigation update at 8:17.
That would be roll call.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Trustee Dilbert?
yes.
Trustee Mona?
Yes.
Trustee Hatchell?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
President Michael?
Yes. Make a motion to come back.
Motion to return at 8:49.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we return to open session at 8:49. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have just received information regarding the Duncan Funeral Home and the Seifert House. And we now have the authority to knock down both buildings by court order, judge's orders. I want to make a motion to proceed as advised by legal counsel in closed session.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we move forward as advised by legal counsel in closed session. Roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes?
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
Trustee Hatchell?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Yes.
And President Michael?
Yes.
That's it.
Motion's in order.
Motion to adjourn at 8:50.
Support.
It's been moved and triply supported. All in favor?
Aye.